All right, guys, so you should have already watched the first lesson video where I introduced you to the 3 types of lines that we're going to be working with this week. And you should have this math notebook page attached to your assignment for the week. So this, again, is something that you can print off, cut out, and put in your math notebook, or you can just use the digital version for your assignments. But I do want you to have this pulled up as we go through the practice problems and as you do your work over the next 3 days, because this will truly help you in remembering what types of lines they might be and how to label them. Okay, so I want you to have that pulled up. And then in your math book, you need to turn to page 823. So page 823 is where we are going to be going. And on page 823, we're going to start with questions 1 and 2. So number 1 says, what geometric term could you use to describe the top and bottom edges of a book and why? Okay, so what I like to do first is I'm going to draw my book. Make it a little bigger. Draw my book. So here's my book. That is not good. Here we go. Okay, so here's my book. All right, now it has straight edges. I didn't do a very good job drawing straight edges, but it has straight edges there and straight edges here. And we are wanting to know what geometric term we could use to describe the top and bottom of a book. So here's my top. So I'm going to draw that just like I would and do a line there. And here's the bottom. Well, if that's the bottom and the top of my book, are those lines ever going to intersect each other? Are they ever going to cross? The answer is no. So what type of geometric term is this? What type of lines? Well, then these would be parallel lines. And they're parallel lines, because remember up here it says why, because they will never intersect. Okay, they will never cross each other. They will never share a point where they cross. They will go on and on forever without crossing each other. So they are parallel lines. Now, let's go to number 2. What pair of lines looks like the blades of an open pair of scissors? All right, here's going to be some artistry here. Not very great, but scissor, scissor, they cross here. There are handles. Okay, so my scissors. If I have scissors, and I'm talking about the blades of the scissors, I'm going to draw lines to see what type of lines these might be. So I'm going to use my pen to draw and extend the blades of those scissors. Well, if my scissors are open, my blades are going to be apart, and when I draw those lines right here, they meet. So what type of line are they? What type of lines intersect at one point? Well, those are intersecting lines. Intersecting lines. And remember, it asked me why. So I need to explain. Because they cross paths at one point. Okay? They cross lines at one point. All right, so let's move on down to question number 7. Bear with me here. All right, question number 7. So it says, use geometric terms to describe what is shown. Be as specific as possible. And I'm also going to add the direction, label the geometric term. Metric term. So we're going to label as well, okay? So on number 7, we have line LM and line HI. Well, first of all, what types of lines are these? If I extend these out forever and ever and ever in both directions, are they ever going to cross each other? The answer is no, they are never going to cross paths. So that means these are parallel lines. And now we need to label them. So I have line LM, and line LM is parallel, remember that 2 L's or the number 11, parallel to line HI. One way that I like, or that helps me remember what parallel means, see this label here? And the word parallel has 2 L's in it. So parallel has 2 L's that are parallel to each other. So that helps us remember what parallel means. Okay. All right, so let's look at number 8. I have line GH and line EF. And down in the corner here, I see a square. What does that square tell me? That tells me it's a right angle. So I know that these lines cross paths. So that means that they're intersecting lines. But we have to be as specific as possible. I know that there's a very specific type of intersecting line that creates a right angle. And that is perpendicular. Okay, so perpendicular. Now I need to label them. So I have line GH. And if I go back to my math notebook, I know that the symbol for perpendicular, or the label, is an upside down capital T. So GH is perpendicular to line EF. Okay. Now, number 9 is kind of a review. It's not a new term, but this is just a point, right? So point. And if I'm going to label this, it would be point A. All right, so now what I would like for you to do is come down. We're going to skip 10 through 12 because they don't have anything to label. I guess we could say this is perpendicular. This one never crosses, so it's going to be parallel. And then this one, they cross. They don't form a right angle like number 10, so these are just intersecting. So now what I'd like for you to do on numbers 13 and 15, I would like for you to pause the video, and I would like for you to follow these directions that say draw what is described by the geometric terms. So you are going to draw perpendicular lines, intersecting lines, and parallel lines. Okay, so go ahead and pause now, and then when you are done, hit the play button, and you can check your answers with my work. All right, so now that you have done 13, 14, and 15 on your own, a perpendicular line, remember perpendicular are 2 lines that intersect, but they form a right angle. So remember, these are lines, so you should have your arrows at the ends. So perpendicular should look like this, with a square in one of the corners to show that it is a right angle. Intersecting lines. Okay, so remember, lines have arrows on the ends. So there's one line, and then I could intersect it with another line. Okay, intersecting lines don't necessarily have to form a perfect X, right? So we could have intersecting lines that look like this, right? But they still cross right there. Okay, they don't have to cross right in the middle. They can cross at different parts. So there is intersecting lines as well, as long as they cross at one point. And then number 15, parallel lines never cross. If you were to extend these forever and ever, they are never going to cross. Now, you might come across something that looks like this. Are those parallel lines? If I extend these lines out, because remember, they go on forever and ever and ever, are they eventually going to cross each other? Yes, they are. So even if you have two lines that don't cross each other as they're presented to you, but if you extend them out and they might cross at some point, then they are intersecting lines. So here would be another example. Okay, so they're not side by side going in the exact same direction, because if I extend these out, okay, they're not going to cross that way, but if I extend them out this way, eventually they are going to cross. So these would be intersecting. Okay, you're going to see that on some of the problems on your Google form that you're going to do next. So don't let that trick you. Even if they don't cross as they're presented to you, if you were to extend them, would they eventually cross? If your answer is yes, then they are intersecting lines. Okay, so now that you've watched both lesson videos, you now have a Google form to complete for your activity for math today.